Today we're going to make a curry. Let's get started. So corn flour with some chicken, and I'm just frying this up. Going to make myself a nice curry. There we go. Look at it. Yeah, beautiful. It's looking pretty good. So I've cooked off the chicken now with which was coated in corn flour, and I've got it sort of quite crispy now. I don't know if you can see. If you want, you could potentially leave it in a bit longer, but I'm quite happy with that really. Let me see if I can get a little bit out for you and show you. So you can see, I mean, if you wanted, I suppose you could leave it a little teeny bit longer, but I'm really happy with that actually. I've already looked inside of it. Looks really good. It's not pink or anything like that. It's perfectly cooked. And remember, I'm going to add this chicken back to the sauce later on, so it's going to be sort of cooking back in some hot sauce for probably about 10 minutes later on anyway, but it's properly cooked. So I am now going to move this. I'm going to move this to one side now. There you go. I'm just moving it all into there. Just for now, just move it to one side. Next up, I'm going to cook off the onions and the mushrooms. I'm also going to add in, the curry powder, the ground ginger and the turmeric as well. A little bit of garlic in there as well. Let's see how we get on. Onions. About 2 onions here, 2 big onions, which I've cut up into little bits. Get that in there. Soften that up a little bit. I know some people use wooden spoons and things like that. I prefer to use a fish slice, whatever you want to call it. It's just what I prefer, to be honest. I feel like you can move it around a bit better when you've got one of these, you know. Now I'm going to cook these for probably about 3 minutes or something like that. And then I'm going to cook off the mushrooms because I'm a fun guy. See what I did? Okay. Yeah. Look at that. It's starting to already brown up slightly, which is great. I just want to soften these up a little bit before I add the stock to it. So I've made in the background, I've made 800 millilitres of stock. Yeah, just there you go. Just one, if you want a jug's worth. Okay, I've made that in the background, which that'll go into here, which will obviously start to make the curry itself. That looks great. I'm going to do the mushrooms shortly. I don't need them in just yet, but right now, what I've got here, I've got some sugar, I've got some ground ginger, I've got some turmeric, and I've got some curry powder there. I'm just going to whop that lot in here like this, like every bit of it. There you go, in there. And then this is all just going to, it's all going to mush together really a bit. There you go, look at that. Any curry powder, really, you can use whatever you want. I'm just using a one from Aldi, curry powder medium, warm. Yeah, what do you want? You can do it as spicy as you want, really, so it's up to you. Right, at that point, I am going to add the stock in just a second. This looks great. Look at that. Right. I'm going to add the stock and we're going to leave this for about maybe about 5 minutes just to simmer. We'll be back shortly. So it's now time to blend this curry. Let me just move this into here. Right, okay. Okay, right, so what I've done, I don't know if you can see here, but what I've done is I've put the onions and obviously the stock with all the powder and stuff that you see me put in earlier. I put it all into this. The reason I put it into a big container is if you try and do this in a shallow pan, it's going to go all over the place. Now what we need to do now, so this is quite literally just the stock, the curry powder, the other little bits and bobs that I put in early, which you've seen, and we're just going to blend this up, easy as that. So just like this. Right, so that has slightly thickened it up. You can't really see that, can you? Let me show you there. So that's slightly thickened it up. What I'm going to do now, though, is I'm going to go now and I'm going to fry off the mushrooms, and then half of the mushrooms I'm going to blend into here. The other half I'm going to put into the curry later on. Right, now that we've blasted the curry and obviously blended it all up, I'm just leaving that to one side just for now whilst we sort these mushrooms out, okay? So I'm going to stick some oil in the old wok here, get the mushrooms in. Now, the reason I didn't cook the mushrooms with the onions earlier is because obviously I blended all the onions up earlier. I didn't want to blend all the mushrooms up at the same time, so what I do is I blend half of the mushrooms and half of the other mushrooms I keep all and put into the curry. It's a method to my madness. I like to do it this way. So what I'm doing right now, I'm just going to brown these off for a little bit. Half of these I'm going to put in with the curry that I've just blended, and half of them I'm going to keep to one side and I'm just going to put into the curry whole. You know what I mean? Hope you understand. But right now I'm going to brown these off. It's probably going to take about 4-5 minutes, something like that. Right, they're done. So, like I said to you earlier, what I'm going to do, half of these mushrooms, I'm going to put in with the blended curry that I've done earlier on, where I blended all the onions together. And so I'm going to keep half of them in with that, and half of these I'm going to keep to one side, which I'm going to add back to the curry later on. Finally, we're getting there now. So it's time now, part 7, and I'm going to add the curry back to the pan. There you go. Look at that. Look at that. Now we're talking. So there's the curry back to the pan. Remember, I have already blended up the onions and the mushrooms into that. So they're all blended up in there now. And also remember, I kept some of the mushrooms to one side because I didn't want to blend them all up. So now I'm just going to simmer that a little bit. And this really is the point where you sort of add everything back in now. So for example, now will be the only thing I have missed out so far is a bit of soy sauce, maybe just a teeny little bit. If you want, you can also stick a bit of garlic. I mean, put some fresh garlic in if you want. Personally, I would fry this off with the onions and mushrooms. I forgot, if I'm honest, I've forgot to do it, but you know what, just stick a little bit in, it's not going to hurt it. Stick a little bit in there. I'm cheating, obviously, because I could use the fresh garlic, I just can't be bothered. So I'm going to stick that in there. I'm going to add the chicken back into this as well. Like I said, this is the time we stick everything back in. Chicken is absolutely lovely. I'm going to add that all back in. Oh, it's absolutely lovely now. And add the mushrooms in. It's lovely. A little bit of seasoning, a little bit of salt there, just a bit. These are frozen peas. Any old frozen peas will do. Stick them in as well. Boom. Let this simmer for maybe 10 minutes. Nice low temperature. Just simmer away. This is your chicken curry, guys.